We're talking about SEO strategies that will help you now and will help you beyond. Please connect with me on Twitter at @ToTheTopDesign. If you're posting tonight, use the hashtag SEO Meetup. But here's a problem, all right? I got to be up front with you. I don't know what we're talking about tonight because SEO's dead, right? Sorry, everybody can go home now. And I know that SEO is dead because there was this guy that wrote an article at Forbes.com, and his article was the death of SEO because there's been a rise in social media and public relations and real content, not that stuff those SEO guys do. And you know, if there's an article on Forbes.com, it's got to be right. So SEO died sometime last year, right? Well, he's actually not right because there was an expert in 2005 that actually said, you know what? SEO is dead. Not only is it dead, it's been dead a long time. He was wrong too because SEO was actually dead back in 1997 because this guy, who used to be an expert in internet marketing, said in 1997, search engines are dying. In fact, they're already dead and they just don't know it. So I don't know what we're talking about tonight, right? Because SEO is dead. And let me tell you about somebody who didn't get the memo. Dr. Jeff Cornwall started up the entrepreneurship program here at Belmont University. He is a real live global expert in entrepreneurship. He's been quoted in just about every small business oriented magazine website that you can imagine. He really is an expert. One of the things that he's been doing for a long time, he's had a blog where he talked about his opinions and great information for small businesses and growing a startup business and everything like that. Very busy blog, very busy website, getting 6,000, 8,000, 11,000 visitors a month. So busy that he was told by the powers that be that he needed to redesign his website. And since SEO is dead, didn't need to worry about SEO when he redesigned his website, right? Well, here's what happened overnight because they didn't worry about SEO. Went down 80% pretty much overnight. Didn't get the memo, did they? Here's somebody else that didn't get the memo about SEO is dead. This is one of my clients. She's a small business owner. She rents boats in Destin, Florida. And we did a little work for her a few months ago, and she said, I am absolutely drowning in leads since you guys have done the SEO on my website. We're seeing 600 to 800 visits per day, which is awesome, but holy cow. How many people send you a testimonial with holy cow in it? Thank you, thank you, thank you. So she doesn't think that SEO is dead, and I don't either. I don't think it's going away at any time in the near future, or probably even the medium or long-term future. I think there's always going to be something that is a search engine, and there's always going to be some way that you can take the most advantage of it, make yourself more visible on it, whether it's Siri or whether it's City Search or whether it's something else that we don't know about. There's always going to be a way for you to do search engine optimization, even if it isn't the same as it is today. So you know what? If you get rid of all the people who are talking about SEO is dead, you remove all those, and pretty much everybody in the SEO industry says that it's changed dramatically in the last 10, 15 years or so, right? Man, there have been so many changes. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to give you 3 fantastic tips, and they're going to be on Twitter here in a second. I'm going to give you 3 fantastic cutting-edge tips for SEO. These are going to be the best, most current SEO tips that you will ever run across. You ready? Here's the first one. First off, make sure that your website design is as simple as possible. Don't go overboard. Keep it simple, straight to the point, and make sure that it loads as quickly as possible. Speed isn't everything. It's really just about the only thing. Make it so responsive that when you click on something to change it, when a visitor clicks on something, it's practically instant. This is a fantastic SEO tip, hot off the presses too. Okay? Here's another one. Google loves content, and not just any content, but what kind? High quality content. Great, fantastic content is what Google likes, all the search engines like. This is what you need to be focusing on. This is as current and as hot an SEO tip as you'll get, except for this last one. Stay away from gimmicks. They don't work. If it sounds too good to be true, if somebody's telling you, hey, we figured out a way to really get you to the top without too much work, It's not going to be legit. You might run into some things that will give you some short-term success, but they're probably risky, and they will probably come back to bite you in the rear. Stay away from anything that feels unethical or spammy, or it feels like a trick. All right, and so these are all from Brett Kabke at Webmaster World. He wrote a post on the forum there recently, because this is all hot stuff, right? A successful site in 12 months alone with Google alone. Fantastic information in this tip. Cutting edge, right? Because SEO has changed so much. But wait a minute. He wrote this 10 years ago. What? I thought SEO has changed dramatically. What's up with that? So I think, and I tend to say that Brett would say, that SEO, if you're doing it the right way, SEO has not changed dramatically in 10 years. What has changed, something that is significantly different, is that easy, black hat, manipulative, spammy tactics that used to work in SEO, that stuff is going away. And good riddance. I've never been a black hat guy. There's white hat SEO, there's black hat SEO, there's a whole bunch of gray area in the middle. With some of my sites, I'll test things, but honestly, we try to stay over here on the white hat end to do the right thing, to follow best practices. And those things do not go out of style. So let me show you a few of the items that have been successful in the past, but they're going away. So this is an email from an SEO consultant here in the Nashville area. She sent it to somebody that I knew. They forwarded it on to me, and they said, Ross, is this right? And what she was suggesting was, you know what, to help you rank higher, we're going to go, you need some links for your website. And that's true. You need links for your website. We're going to go out and get links on blogs by leaving comments. How many of you guys have a blog? How many of you guys have ever gotten spam comments on your blog? What do you know? Everybody's hand went up. This stuff, guess what? It used to work. 7 years ago, Google started catching on to this. This doesn't work anymore. This is the wrong thing to do. And this is a recent comment by somebody here in Nashville that offers SEO and website optimization services. Stay away from her. Another thing that has been, oh, was it you? No, I'm kidding. Another thing that has been very effective, but it's been spammed to death and it's never been a best practice, is buying links and buying cheap links. The idea is that, hey, if I need links, I'll just go out and buy some. I can buy, these guys are often offering 100 or so for $50. Wow, what a bargain. But if you need 1,000, you can get them for $480. That's 48 cents a link. Those must be incredibly authoritative and valuable links pointing to your website. No, they're not. Stay away from it. This has always been against the Google guidelines, and especially in the last year or two, Google has gotten much better at not only ignoring these, but actually penalizing you if you do this. Penalizing you on Google means maybe you should have been ranking about number 4, but after you've been penalized, instead of ranking number 4, you rank number 14 or number 422. Stay away from things that feel spammy, unethical, or tricky. But you know what? It's always safe to trust a company with a BBB logo, right? All right. So here is a quote I took off of another company here in Nashville today, and they talk about how they can help you get to the top of Google. And they're really good at what they do. We know how to do it right. We do something called article spinning. Aren't they clever? This is article spinning. It's also known as synonymizing. It's where you take an original piece of content and you swap out words with synonyms and you spin the article so that you start off with one original article and you spin it and you end up with a second, which is technically different, and you can spin it again and again and again, and 1,000 times later, 1,000 spins later, you've got 1,000 technically unique articles. These are the blog posts and articles that you see on websites that they just don't make sense what you're reading, It's supposed to say Salt Lake City, and it says Sodium Pond Town, okay? You see this all the time, and it's technically different. Google loves unique content. They go after this and they penalize this. And so somebody who is today abdicating, hey, we're smart because we know how to do article spinning, I'd encourage you to stay away from them. So, this stuff doesn't work anymore. Stay away. The question then being, what works? Well, just like Brett said 10 years ago, Google's looking for great content. There are hundreds of different search engine algorithm factors, or they call them signals. There are hundreds of different things that they look for. Pretty much all of those fall into two categories. They're looking for relevancy and they're looking for authority. If your web page has the best combination of relevancy and authority when somebody is searching, Google wants you to rank number one. That has worked and it will always work no matter what's going on. I'm going to talk about relevancy for a second and give you an example of what I've seen as the biggest, most common SEO mistake. And you might be doing this on your website. So, relevancy. I like to talk about, that's primarily means having the right words in the right places. And if you want a copy of these two infographics, kind of cheat sheets, just connect with me on social media, shoot me an email, and I'll make sure that you get a copy of this. But the right words, it's extremely important. This is a blog post by Nancy Moore. She owns porchco.com. They are in the Middle Tennessee area. They are a high-end porch construction company. They've kind of got the market for that wrapped up because they are awesome. But they've recently started selling porch and outdoor structure accessories nationwide. And so she wants to get more traffic for anybody that's interested in porches or decks or gazebos or anything like that. She writes wonderful content. This is a post that she wrote, and she talks about how it rained so much here in Nashville, and she went out to a beautiful lake home where they had 3,000 square feet of deck and porch outside, and she said it used to be beautiful when they built it, but it had been rotten. It had been rotting because of all the rain and all the runoff that was getting to it. And it's a fantastic post on her blog if you want to know how to make sure that when you build something, that doesn't happen to you. Great information. But what's the title? The title is, although beautiful, necessary, and soothing, water can also be the enemy. She doesn't have the right words here. What's this article about? What?
Porches. Yes.
Porches? What about porches? Rotting porches. From what? Water damage. Water damage to porches. Gosh, I can see somebody going to Google and saying porch water damage, or how do I prevent water damage to my porch, or something like that. I don't see anybody going to Google and say soothing water is my enemy. You know, what do I do about it?
Yes.
Right? And so what did we encourage her to do? We didn't change the whole thing because she wrote a fantastic piece of content. We changed what the title was, and it changed it to how to prevent water damage on your porch. And guess what? People can find this now because she's got the right words on her website. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Fantastic. So a lot of times you're doing a lot of the right things, but it's just changing how you think about it a little bit. What are people actually going to search for? What need am I fulfilling with the content that I'm putting on my website? We talked about the right words. You got to put the right words in the right places. The right places, there are a number of them. Some of the most important, the single most important place to put those right words, or your keywords if you want to call them that. The single most important place is in your page title. So if you want to prevent water damage to porches, try to put those words, prevent water damage to porches. If you're a plumber in Nashville, try to put the words plumber in Nashville up here in your page title. It's the single most important place to put the right words, to put your keywords. And there are a number of other places that you want to put them. So we had a client in the healthcare industry. They had a website with some fantastic information on it, probably about 1,000 pages. They contract, but their website building tool, their content management system, their CMS, was so inflexible that they couldn't put the words in the right places. They didn't have any flexibility on those right places. And so we actually rebuilt their website's infrastructure. So without changing any of their content, we were able to take whatever words they had and we put them in the right place. They would automatically go in their page title. They would automatically go in the website URL. They would automatically be wrapped in an H1 heading tag for their main headline on their web page. We just put the words that they had in the right places, and this is what they got. They more than doubled organic traffic to their website, and they said, hey, that's pretty good. We didn't change any of the content. We just changed kind of their technical infrastructure so that Google and the other search engines would realize, hey, this page over here, it's about what they're talking about. All right? So, relevancy and authority works. There have been some changes though, okay? And I believe there are some potentially dramatic changes that are going to happen. Relevancy and authority not going away. Google trying to penalize if you're doing gimmicks or sneaky things or manipulation. Google going after that, that's not going away. They're probably going to get better at enforcing their rules. So relevancy and authority, the things that have always worked, they're going to keep working. I think that there are 3 primary new trends that are coming out that if you are tackling this sooner rather than later, I think that you'll be ahead of your competition, you'll be ahead of the game. Those 3 issues are the mobile web, social media, and authorship. And I'll talk a little bit about all 3 of those. So first off, mobile. We've known for a long time that more and more people are accessing the internet, accessing websites on their smartphones. And it's just coming more and more and more. Google is all about trying to make sure that people have a good user experience when they're on websites. Google does a lot of things to encourage publishers, people with websites, to make sure that they have a great user experience for people. Google even says, don't worry about SEO and where you rank, just build fantastic content. Give your user a great experience on your website, and we'll take care of everything else. And you should focus on the user. Google's even got an initiative called howtogomode.com, and one of the many stats that they've got on there is that 2/3 of mobile users say, you know, if I go to a website on my phone that's mobile friendly, I am much more likely to purchase from that website than if I go to a website that is a horrible user experience. So that's the first thing that I encourage you to do. If you haven't done it yet, focus on trying to make sure that your website, your web presence is mobile friendly. The second thing is social media. And have you heard me talk about relevancy and authority? It's pretty important. So here's the question. Does Google see relevancy and authority in social media? Well, they do on web pages, right? And they do on websites. So let's take a look at a Facebook post. And this is a Facebook post from my friend Carrie Wu. And to me, this kind of looks like a web page because it's got a web address for this individual post. So it's got a unique URL, a unique web address. That makes it a web page, right? It's got a picture on here. It's got some text on here. It's got a heading tag. It's got a little a photo. It's got a link to Carrie's profile. And Carrie talks about making a do-it-yourself bookshelf easy. See Instructables.com. That's a link. And Google likes to see links between pages because a link on one page transfers authority to the target page. And so from Google's perspective, you know what? This page would have relevancy and it could transfer some authority. It's relevancy to a do-it-yourself bookshelf because he talks about that, and it could transfer some authority from that page over to Instructables.com. So, gosh, I look at this page and I think, sure, Google's going to see this and they're going to say, you know what? Carrie Wu said something nice about Instructables, so that's going to help Instructables. But here's the problem. This is what that page looks like to Google. Why is that? It's private. It's behind a password. Google can't see the content. Think about how much of what you do on social media is behind some type of firewall, behind some type of password. A lot of what you do, I use LinkedIn a lot. I hope y'all will connect with me on LinkedIn. A lot of what happens on LinkedIn isn't visible to Google because they can't log in. A lot of what happens on Facebook is not visible to Google because they can't log in. Now, there's a lot of things that do happen on social media that they can see, but here's something else to think about, is that I just saw a stat recently that said there's been more information created in the last 2 years, and I'm gonna get this right, did you get the idea? There's been more information created in the last 2 years than in the entire history of the world up until then. Think about it. How hard was it to publish something 1,000 years ago? Pretty difficult. 100 years ago, it was still pretty difficult. 30 years ago, if you said I'm a published author, wow, that's incredible. Today, there's a lot of people with ebooks. Pretty easy to publish an ebook, right? And when you post a website, you're publishing something that the entire world can see. When you publish a Facebook post or a tweet, you're publishing something that the entire world can see. Google is big and powerful, but they have limited resources. It is difficult for them to keep up with the flood of information that is going on social media. And so, can Google keep track, even if it's public information, can Google keep track of everything that's going on with publicly visible social media? They can't. So does that mean social media doesn't have anything to do with SEO? That's absolutely wrong. It does have a lot. There are a lot of nice indirect benefits. You can make relationships, and relationships can lead to things that have direct SEO impact. There are very few things, however, that you do in social media that have direct impact on SEO, have direct impact on whether you rank well on Google or not. This is one of them. Okay? Think about it this way. First off, a lot of stuff at Facebook is behind a password, right? Google can't see it. Also, Google and Facebook, historically, they have been not very friendly competitors, okay? And so I would not expect that Google is going to base a significant part of their algorithm, and their algorithm is the reason they're worth $1 bazillion, right? Okay, I don't believe that they're going to put a lot of stock in something that's going on at their competitor who they don't like to come up with here's what the results are. Okay, so I don't think that Google counts what's going on Facebook very highly. Do they take a look? I'm sure they do. What do they do with that? Maybe a little bit, but not much. Same thing with Twitter. There is so much information coming through Twitter. Have you guys ever, how many of you guys are on Twitter? Have you guys ever gotten spammed on Twitter or followed by a fake account, or you've gotten a spam direct message? Okay, so we know it's easy to fake stuff on social media, isn't it? Google, other search engines like Bing and Yahoo, they realize that too. They're trying to figure out what to do with all this data. They're trying to figure out how to capture this data. They're trying to figure out what to do with it. It would make sense to me that if I'm a search engine and I've got my own kind of social media area, I might really focus on understanding and using that first, wouldn't you? Because they have full access. They've got a lot more data about what's going on at Google Plus than they do have about what's going on at LinkedIn or Twitter or any of the other places where you might be going. So there are a couple of things that we know are direct SEO benefits in Google Plus these days. The first of which is personalization. Do you guys know that Google tries to personalize your results? How many of you guys know that? Okay, so a good chunk of you. I mean, they literally try to make sure that if I search for something and Tim searches for something, we may very well see different results. They might be exactly the same, they might be a little different, but Google's trying to make it as good of an experience as possible for each one of us as an individual. And so this is the Search Plus Your World, which is Google's original term for the massive personalization that they started last year. And so when I search for link building strategies, which is important for SEO, I see John Cooper, who's got his complete list of link building strategies. It really is best link building strategies list I've ever seen. Here's something from SEJ, and this link here, this is a personalized result for Pushfire.com. Pushfire is owned by Ray Hoffman, and she's a friend of mine. She and I have connected on Google+. She's ranking about number 8 or 9 if you log in and you're not connected to her. But since we're connected, her listing is promoted. It's pushed up. She ranks higher because of our connection. So one of the direct impacts of Google Plus relationships on SEO is that the larger your network of contacts on Google Plus, there's the potential for those people to see what you recommend as ranking higher on Google. That is a direct impact. Okay? Here's another direct impact of Google Plus, and it leads us into our third topic of authorship. So this kind of segues between both social media and authorship. How many of you guys have searched on Google and you've seen a picture of somebody's face smiling back at you? Okay? And so this is what we refer to as an authorship photo or an author highlight in the Google search results. It's been around for about 2 years. Back in 2011 when they came out with it, it was extremely difficult to make it work. And so there was very low adoption. Google has gotten better at making it easy for these to show up, but it's still not as easy as it could be, should be. So when you search for Google, when you search for things on Google, you still often don't see anybody's picture showing up. This is an opportunity for you. The reason why I would encourage you to do this is because whether you rank number 1, 2, 4, 10, whatever, it stands out. It draws people's attention to your listing. And so we know that there is a fairly standard distribution of how many people click on the first result. It varies, but it's usually around 30% or so. How many people click on the second result? About 20% or so. And it keeps going down and down and down. However, when there's anything like this picture here, it blows that standard distribution out of the water. And so I could imagine on this one that instead of my second listing getting 20% click-through ratio, it might get 25 or 35%, just because people's attention is drawn to that. I'm going to pull them in because I'm smiling at them and I'm so good looking and they can't stand to not look at me. And then they're going to read Nashville Web Design, to the top SEO expert, and they're going to read what I've got here. And hopefully what I've got is well written enough and encouraging for them to click and visit my website. So this is a distinct advantage. The way you have this to show up is you've got to have a personal, not for your company, you've got to have an individual Google Plus profile set up, and you have to have a recognizable headshot. And on your Google Plus profile, you have to click under Contributor To on the About page, and you say, hey, Google, I am a contributor to that website over there. On the website over here where you've published your content, in this case, tothetopdesign.com, on your website, you publish the content, and then you've also got to put in a little, it's called a rel author tag. You've got to put in a little bit of code snippet that says to Google, hey, Google, this content that I wrote over here, that's my Google Plus profile over there.
What was it called again? Real content?
I'm sorry? The tag to do this is called a rel, it's actually rel, R-E-L, equals, quote, author, unquote. Or sometimes just called a rel author tag. But it's essentially a two-way relationship. Google sometimes refers to this as a reciprocal link between your content that you've published over here and your Google Plus profile. Your Google Plus profile says, I write the content over here, and over here on your website you say, that's me on my Google Plus profile over there. Once you have that properly implemented, and it's easier than it ever was, but it's still not horribly easy. Once you've got that properly set up, Google usually decides to have your picture show up. Not all the time, but this is a distinct advantage of being active on Google Plus right now. All right, the other thing that I want to let you know about authorship is that this is a dramatic change in the way that Google is thinking. From the beginning, a minute ago I was saying their algorithms at Google, that's really the reason why they're worth, I think the last I saw was $200 or $300 billion. But the original algorithm that Google came out with is called PageRank. It's named for Larry Page PageRank. But it has been always website or web page centric. It's always been about, how much authority does this individual web page, this individual website have? PageRank has really been the driving force on propelling Google to the top of the market share for general search engines. Authorship represents a change. A lot of people in our community have coined the term author rank. There was actually a patent on Google called it agent rank, but everybody just kind of calls it author rank now. Because author rank is very specific to an individual author. So this is a big change in the way that's thinking. PageRank isn't going away. Relevancy and authority are not going away. But this could represent a fundamental shift in the type of things that Google looks for. In the past, it's always been almost exclusively, what have you done on your web page? What have you done on your website? This kind of goes the other direction. It's who is this individual person that has published content, and are they a subject matter expert on whatever topic you're talking about? This is an opportunity for you guys to get in on the ground floor by creating high quality content and claiming it, verifying it with your authorship, with your Google Plus profile. All right, this is Eric Schmidt. He is the CEO of Google, and in February of this year, he caused a firestorm in my world when he said this. This was quoted in, I think, the Wall Street Journal. He said that information tied to a verified online profile, that's my Google Plus profile where I said I'm a contributor to this, information tied to that verified online profiles will be ranked higher than content without such verification. The true cost of remaining anonymous then might be irrelevance. I read this and I say, holy cow. He says that they're given a ranking boost if you verify ownership of your content. If you do that authorship stuff, you rank higher, okay? This, however, was taken out of context, all right? And Google very much backpedaled and said, no, we are not doing this. Don't even know if we decide to do that yet. We might not ever do that. But this was a very interesting comment. Google has been explicit that they are not doing this. They are not giving subject matter experts an extra boost in Google just because you're a subject matter. But I will put the word yet on the end of that. My opinion is that I think it makes sense for them to do this. And so think about it this way. If Barack Obama writes a blog post and he puts it on whitehouse.gov, that's going to be a very authoritative blog post, right? Everybody should, if you're interested in it, everybody should be able to find it, right? It should rank well on Google. Well, what if he's passing through town and, he shakes my hand and I say, hey, would you write a guest post on my blog? And he says, sure, Ross. And so he puts the same blog post, instead of putting it on whitehouse.gov, he puts it on my website. He puts it on tothetopdesign.com. Well, it's the same authoritative person that's writing some great content. Shouldn't that blog post have as much authority, whether it's on my website or whether it's on whitehouse.gov? That kind of makes sense to me. Or it maybe not as much authority, but it sure ought to get a boost just because, hey, that guy's a subject matter expert, isn't he? Okay? That's the concept behind agent rank, which we've kind of been coining the term of author rank. So this is something that I believe is coming down the pike, and you should get ready for this. Yes, sir, Bob.
But that probably wouldn't be relevant to your website.
It's another.
Bob to write something.
But Bob, it's another factor for them to take into consideration, and it makes sense. If I have somebody come in here, if next month I say, you know what, we were going to talk about consumer reviews and internet marketing, but instead I've got Barack Obama coming in as a guest speaker. You'd still probably, a few of you might still be interested. I don't care. I don't care. If I can get him as a guest speaker, he's going to get to talk about whatever he wants. Regardless of politics, if I can get him for a guest speaker, I'm going to let him come in and talk about whatever he wants. And you guys will have the choice. But it will still be an important discussion because it's the president. And take out the president for a minute. But let's say, Bob, you're a lot more important, and there's a lot more people that know you than know me. And your website is much, much more authoritative than mine. So, and we're both in the same general industry, online marketing, online marketing, whatever you want to call it. So there is some level of authority. But you've got people and websites which you're much more authoritative than I am. If I can get you to write a guest post on my blog, I think we should get some automatic boost because, hey, that's Bob Duffy writing an article on my lowly little website. Thank you for doing that, Bob. And so I believe that this makes sense for them to incorporate. Google says explicitly today they're not doing this, and I tend to believe them. But even if they're not going to go in this direction, even if this was absolutely taken out of context and they're never going to do this, I think you should get on the authorship bandwagon just because your picture shows up. And that can lead to more people coming to your website. And that can lead to your phone ringing more and putting more dollars in my pocket. Yes, sir.
That works great for individual websites, but what about corporations where the corporate brand has to be the front-facing thing? And
You won't get penalized for not doing it. But this right now, there's also a, this is a rel author tag for authorship. There's also a rel publisher tag for a publisher, the entity. However, they do not have the authorship photo, the author highlight photo showing up for a publisher or a brand. Right now, they are only doing that for an individual person. If you have a corporate website, this isn't for you, unless you decide to, hey, here's the person whose face is going to be associated with the homepage. If you've got a blog post on your corporate blog, you can certainly have, and I would encourage you to have the individual authors, to have this opportunity to show up for them. It makes sense. You've got real people. I mean, in any organization, large or small, you've got people who are the subject matter experts for you. And this is the opportunity. This is what Google wants to do. Google wants to try to get away from all the content on the internet is anonymous. Marcia and I were talking about earlier, she's been reading a lot about SEO. And I said, you know what, if you read the stuff that's right, it's fantastic. The problem is a lot of it's wrong or a lot of it's outdated. And a lot of it is essentially anonymous. However, if you could kind of verify, or if Google could help you verify that you read something from an established expert like Bob or like me or somebody else who you trust, then that should be promoted. That's kind of the concept here. Does that help? So Eric Schmidt, the quote from him taken out of context, they tell us that they are not using the agent rank, the author rank, the authorship to boost search engine results for websites. That's what they're telling us today. Will they in the future? I kind of think it makes sense for them to do that, but it doesn't look like they are yet. So just to recap for tonight, number one, when you hear somebody say that SEO is dead, I don't believe them. Let them think it's dead. Let them go do something else. Let them skip SEO. I think that's a mistake. The fundamentals of search engine optimization have remained unchanged for at least a decade. You need to focus on quality content, your user experience. You need to focus on relevancy and authority of your website and of you as an individual. You need to focus on making sure that you've got the right words in the right places. Don't overdo it, but make sure if you're a plumber in Nashville, you've got the words plumber in Nashville somewhere on your website. And then finally, the 3 trends that are coming that I think make sense for you to be taking advantage of right now. Make sure that you're understanding and using the authorship component of Google. Make sure that you've got a mobile-friendly site, and make sure that you are active in social media, including Google+. Because I think that that's where Google is going to focus most of the benefits of social media. That's what I've got for tonight. I appreciate you guys coming tonight. We'll stick around and we'll take some more questions. Thanks a lot.